Why did Tom Cruise almost refuse to appear in Run Jin? What exactly went on behind the scenes until that sudden decision almost derailed the most iconic moment in BTS's variety history? Is this about Jin? About HYB? Or about something the ARMY doesn't want to know? One shocking fact was revealed, and Jin's statement at the end of the episode brought thousands of fans to tears. It's not just an episode. It's an emotional explosion, a hidden riddle, and a confession we never thought would come out of Tom Cruise's own mouth. What makes a Tom Cruise a Hollywood icon, a symbol of cinematic valor, and the main face of the Mission Impossible franchise, almost refused to appear in a South Korean variety show that has long been known as the home of laughter, challenges, and surprises from a Kim seokjin? And more importantly, why was that moment covered up until episode 35 finally aired, triggering an explosion of reactions from ARMY, who didn't expect that there was such a deep and emotional story hidden behind Jin's smile? When Run Jin released his new episode on May 20th, 2025, no one was really prepared for what happened. On the screen, everything looks perfect. A genie dressed in a suit in the style of an IMF agent, funny but tense missions, to touching video calls with her mother and grandfather. Tom Cruise, with his classic charm, looks enthusiastic, laughs, and even praises the Jin family's homemade Korean food. But the camera never captures the seconds before that. When the final decision hardly takes place, an internal source, who did not want to be named, revealed that just 3 hours before filming began, Tom Cruise was on the verge of refusing. The question is, why? Is it about a busy promotional schedule? No. Or is it because he doesn't know Jin or BTS well enough? It turned out not that either. The answer was surprising and heartwarming, even more than anything imagined. In a closed waiting room in HYB's studio, Tom is said to have expressed his concern that he might steal the spotlight from Jin. "I was invited here, but it's about him. I'm afraid I'm making this about me," was his initial statement that leaked through translator HYB. No one expected actors as big as Tom Cruise turned out to be so thinking about emotional balance and highlights in the show. But the real reason came when Jin himself entered the room. In a closed-door conversation that didn't air in the episode, Genie took the time to speak directly at Tom Cruise. His words are not only touching, but also contain pain that is not expected to arise from an idol who is known to be humorous. "I'm hiding a lot of sadness," Jin said. "I do not know if I could have shown the same laughter on camera without your help." That moment left Tom Cruise speechless. It is known that during the filming period, Jin had just completed the treatment period of his grandfather, who had re-entered the hospital 2 weeks earlier. And during that time, he also experienced heavy pressure due to the promotion of his new album, Echo, which is considered the most personal work in his solo career. Jin says he needs a friend on the screen, someone who can bear the weight of the pressure with him, but in a way that is still fun. And he felt only Tom Cruise could give him that. The episode suddenly had a much deeper meaning. When we see Jin smiling while asking, "Do you know BTS?" to Tom Cruise, it turned out to be an attempt to revive his almost extinguished spirit. Even the look in her eyes during a video call with her mother showed not only happiness, but also a desperate attempt to convey that she was okay even though behind the scenes, she was holding back tears. Another thing that not many know is this episode was directed by Jin himself. Yes, for the first time since Run Jin aired, the 35th episode is the result of Jin's creative vision completely. And according to Big Hit Music, the decision was taken because Jin wanted to say something indirectly to the world. After the broadcast, only then do we understand. The mission to save the world is not just about defusing fake bombs or solving puzzles. It's about saving himself. One big clue emerges from the last song played at the end of the episode. A hidden track from Echo's album titled Still Here, a song that has never been officially announced. The lyrics imply the upheaval of the heart that Jin is going through, about the sense of loss, the pressure of loneliness, and the yearning for real freedom. Many guess this song is Jin's secret offering to the ARMY as well as to himself, an honest admission that even the worldwide handsome has wounds that can't always be bandaged with a smile. The fan reaction was so great. Twitter, TikTok, and Weverse were flooded with hashtags hashtag Tom Cruise Run Jin, hashtag Protect Jin, and hashtag Echo Resonates. Many felt slandered, as they had previously considered this episode to be just a funny collaboration. But when these emotional facts began to come to light, everything changed dramatically. One fan wrote, "I will never watch this episode again without crying." Jin tries to hide his pain behind a warm smile and a 4K camera. One of the most emotional moments came when Tom Cruise, in an interview that MTV UK released 3 days before the episode aired, delivered this sentence: "The genie taught me something deeper than just action scenes. She taught me the courage to look fragile in front of the world." That's the real mission. The question now is, will this be the emotional finale of Run Jin, or just the beginning of something bigger? Next week's episode 36 will mark the official end of the show, and many are wondering if the genie will give a direct explanation at the end of the episode. Will he say goodbye? Or is it just divulging more personal future plans? But one thing that can't be denied is how episode 35 has changed the way we view BTS's variety show. No longer just a light entertainment during the hiatus, but a reflection of the soul of a genie who has been too good at hiding wounds. And the presence of Tom Cruise, which hardly happens, turns out to be an important key to revealing everything. Did HYB know how fragile Jin was back then? Why did they keep forcing this episode to air during such a busy time for Jin, including the release of the album and preparations for the Run Jin tour? Is all this part of the strategy, or is there precisely a gap in the protection of the artist's well-being? Those questions are now resonating among fans who not only love Jin for his on-screen charm, but also for his apparent humanity. One thing is certain: this episode is a lesson for all of us that even heroes can get tired. Even IMF agents need to be saved. And even Tom Cruise, known for dangerous stunts, turned out to be touched by a Korean guy named Kim Seokjin, who does not need an explosion to make the world fall silent. Enough with frankness. So, when you rewatch this one episode of Run Jin, try to pay deeper attention. Look at Jin's eyes. Listen to the tone. Watch for pauses as he laughs, and silence as the camera pans over his face. Because that's where the real story begins. Not from words, but from things that were never said. Is this the end of Run Jin? Or is it precisely the beginning of the real genie's journey towards something more than just a glass screen? And above all, why didn't HYB ever reveal this important detail in the first place? ARMY deserves to know. The world deserves to know. Jin deserves to be heard. Then, in the dense silence behind the stage, Jin just stared silently at the small screen where the name Thomas Cruise Maypother 4 was clearly displayed. And when the call was finally answered, Tom Cruise opened with a phrase that made the crew's heart stop beating for a moment. "I barely came here." What does that mean? What happened before Tom Cruise's class of actors uttered such a sharp sentence at the beginning of a conversation? Why did he admit to almost rejecting one of the most moving collaborations in Korean variety show history? Jin, with a small smile full of mystery, responded, "I know. But why do you keep coming, Hyung?" And this is where everything changes. A confession that unexpectedly rolled out of Tom Cruise's mouth, so honest, so personal, that the whole room, even fans watching from home, could feel the atmosphere changing completely. "I saw one of your videos in the middle of the night, Jin. The one when you sang The Astronaut. Your face, your heart, there's something I can't explain. I feel it has to be here." Jin was silent. No one expected that the decision of the world-class Hollywood actor turned out to be not purely from managers or promotional strategies, but because a song. Immediately, social media exploded. The hashtags #TomForJin and #RunJin legendary collab immediately topped trending topics on various platforms. Fans began to find out which video in question. Some claimed it was a rehearsal video of The Astronaut that Jin secretly uploaded on a private channel 2 weeks before the episode aired. But is it really just that song that made Tom Cruise change his mind? the story behind the scenes turned out to be more complicated than expected. A HYB staffer whispered to local media that earlier, there was a sudden cancellation of the cruise party due to tensions with the Mission Impossible promotion crew in East Asia. They considered that Cruise's participation in the Korean variety show could lower his global exclusivity value. Tom himself was called furious because the decision was taken without his consent, but what many people don't know is Jin himself wrote a personal letter to Tom. The handwritten letter, in plain English and a few Hangul scribbles in the corner of the paper, was sent directly through the diplomatic team working with HYB's promotion team. In the letter, Jin not only asked sincerely but also told about the feeling of loss, about the hiatus period, about the sever. Episode 36 of Run Jin does not open with laughter, nor with typical sound effects as usual. No funny montajes, no blaring gimmicks. Instead, the screen only shows Jin sitting alone in Bigot's training room that has not been seen on the screen for a long time. The room is empty. Only a microphone stands in front of him. There is no sound. Only the ticking of the clock hands is heard quietly in the background. Is this a marker? Or a farewell that is not narrated with words, but with silence? Then Jin looked at the camera. With calmer eyes than usual, but clearly noticeably wet. He began, I don't know where to start, so maybe I'll start from a secret that I can never share, even with other BTS members. Millions of spectators held their breath. When I was first offered to do this show, I said no. Even twice. I said I'm not variety material. I told you this would fail. But the real reason, because I'm scared. Fear of being alone. Who would have thought that behind the laughter and jokes of the genie, there was such a dark fear? Is this the reason why Run Jin is so emotionally strong? Is this why so many moments in the show feel so personal? Jin continued. Every time we go to the army, the world becomes quiet. I know the army still exists, but sometimes those nights so too silent. And when I finally agreed to Run Jin, I made a promise to myself. Don't tell anyone how lonely you are. Show laughter. Make them laugh. But to be honest, I was the one who cried the most after filming ended. Those words hit many hearts like a hurricane without warning. Shortly after, the screen moved to behind-the-scenes footage that never aired. Jin sat in the van alone, looking at the city reflected from the window. He spoke to a small camera that he hid behind the passenger seat. If you were watching this, I might have gone again. Either to the stage, to another country, or to a place quieter than all this. But please, don't think I'm okay just because I look funny. The episode slowly turned into a kind of genie's open letter to the world. He talked about his decision to continue with Run Jin, about the guilt of laughing on screen while his heart felt empty, about the momentary happiness of making others laugh, and about one video call with Tom Cruise that changed his whole life. I feel like you're not coming as an actor. You came as the only person who could say to me, it's okay to rest. And the time he said that, I really want to take a break. But not from you. Not from the army. Just from this guilt. The camera pans back to Jin. He smiled, with the most honest smile ever recorded in Run Jin's history. I don't know if this show will have a season 2, but I know, as long as you remember this episode, I'm not really alone. Then, the screen displays a handwritten note. Dear Army, if this is the end, then I want you to know that I'm glad I made you laugh. If this is the beginning, then I want you to know that I want to make you proud. Thank you for being home when home feels too big to be alone. Love, Jin. The episode ended not with the usual credits, but with a montage of all the episodes of Jin's run. From the first episode, when Jin learns to bake bread with the mothers of the owners of a small shop, to the scene with the kindergarten children whom he teaches to draw fish, to the end, the silent gaze between him and Tom Cruise. It was all capped off by one final scene, Jin singing a snippet from his new song, Echo, while holding a photo of all the BTS members, and after that a dark screen. There was no album promotion. Just shut up, but the silence didn't last long. The internet instantly smoldered. Social media is full of speculation. Will Jin go on hiatus again? Is this a sign that he is hiding something from the public? Is there a big pressure that has never been reported by the media? And the most electrifying, some fans noticed that in a video call with Tom Cruise in the previous episode,